If you're living on planet Earth, then you definitely know that Minions is one of the biggest hits in movie history. But have you ever noticed that there are tons of Easter eggs and hidden messages scattered throughout the Minions movies? The most curious one happens in Minions: The Rise of Gru, when Gru is tied up on a clock tower and yells out to the Minions, "Minions, assemble!" That scene looks a lot like an epic moment from Avengers Endgame, when the heroes are fighting Thanos and Captain America. With that tired but determined tone, shouts the iconic, "Avengers assemble!" Coincidence? Maybe. A reference? Probably. A tribute. Or just goofing around? Absolutely. But the funniest part is imagining. Is Gru actually trying to become the new Captain America? Or worse, are the Minions turning into the new Avengers? Just picture it. Clumsy little Kevin trying to lift Thor's hammer, or Bob mistaking the Soul Stone for a gummy bear. And Gru? Well, if he is switching sides, Thanos better watch out, or he might end up getting tricked by a banana-fueled evil plan. Now let's dive deep into this yellow universe, where every single scene might be hiding a tribute to a cinema classic. Come along with us and check out another awesome video. If you think Minions only makes references to big-name movies like Avengers, you're way off. Sure, there are plenty of nods to superheroes with capes and hammers, but the film also includes tons of recycled details straight from the Despicable Me franchise. A classic example? The legendary fart bomb. This stinky gadget pops up when Gru and the Minions head to the movies, but if you're an old-school fan, you'll remember this isn't the fart bomb's first appearance. In the very first Despicable Me, Dr. Nefario already showed off this weapon. Looks like supervillains have a soft spot for stinky tech. Apparently, nothing screams world domination quite like making everyone hold their noses. And let's be real. Between lasers, missiles, and explosions, it's the fart bomb that really wins hearts and clogs nostrils. Here's another Easter egg that flies right by. Literally, the color of the fart bomb smoke, green. Coincidence? Not at all, detail-loving friend. If you saw that green cloud and thought, "This reminds me of something," you nailed it. That green wasn't chosen by accident. It's a direct nod to another classic villain, the Green Goblin from the Spider-Man universe. Remember that creepy green gas he releases with his pumpkin bombs? Yep, it seems villains have a thing for brightly colored, dangerously scented smoke. The only real difference between the Goblin and Gru? One wants to destroy Spider-Man, the other just wants to ruin a quiet movie night and bring chaos with flair. Now this one's a deep-cut Easter egg that only longtime fans probably caught right away. In the scene where young Gru faces off with the Vicious Six, one of them really stands out. Not for what he says, but for his look. Or better yet, for looking like he just walked out of a cult classic film. We're talking about Jean-Claude, the villain with a crab claw for a hand. But what really grabs your attention is his outfit, which feels like it was ripped straight out of A Clockwork Orange, that bizarre and legendary movie from the 70s directed by Stanley Kubrick. The bowler hat, the white outfit, and the artsy yet violent vibe? Totally intentional. Seems like the Minions creators did their homework and decided to mix goofy chaos with classic cinema. Because nothing says family fun like a villain who looks like he escaped from an old-school art house film. Speaking of villains, another standout member of the infamous Vicious Six is none other than Svengeance. Yep, his name already sets the tone. This guy is not here to make friends. But what really grabs your attention is his whole look. Spiky helmet and all, like he just walked out of a destruction derby on roller skates. You might be too young to recognize it, but Svengeance's look is a clear nod to the cult classic Rollerball, that wild 1970s movie where the sport was basically hockey, MMA, and all-out chaos rolled into one. It's basically a love letter to villains, old-school movies, and good old-fashioned violent fun. And in the Minions universe, that somehow makes total sense. Before we move on with the 15 hidden details and Easter eggs in Minions, drop a comment below. Yellow. Now this one's for the eagle-eyed viewers, or the folks who pause the movie every 3 seconds. In the scene where Gru and the Minions arrive at the movie theater, there's a subtle little detail stuck to the wall that most fans totally missed. A poster showing a terrifying shark. Yep, you guessed it. This isn't there by accident. It's a clear reference to Steven Spielberg's all-time classic, Jaws. The same movie that traumatized an entire generation of parents and grandparents and made people think twice before going for a swim in the ocean. Because let's face it, nothing turns a fun day at the beach into psychological horror faster than a creepy soundtrack and a sea monster creeping up from the deep. And of course, in the Minions universe, even the Easter eggs have teeth. In Minions, The Rise of Gru, there's a scene where our favorite yellow dudes decide to learn karate, and as always, whenever they do something, it's a mix of chaos and pop culture. So yes, even their outfits have a hidden meaning. When the Minions show up wearing those yellow jumpsuits with black belts, sharp-eyed fans immediately raise an eyebrow. That outfit looks very familiar. It's the same iconic look from two legendary movies. First, Game of Death, with martial arts master Bruce Lee, and later, Kill Bill, with the most vengeful bride in cinema history, directed by Quentin Tarantino. In the end, the Minions may not be kung fu masters, but they are world champions at causing adorable chaos. Now, let's talk about the name of the villain group in Minions 2. The Fearsome Vicious. 6. Sounds like just a cool name? Maybe. But if you've got a sharp comic book memory, it probably rings a bell. After all, it's not the first time a gang of exactly 6 bad guys has tried to take down a certain superhero. Yep, we're talking about the Sinister Six, the classic group of villains from Spider-Man comics and movies. Each one has a wild look, unique powers, and some kind of over-the-top plan. Coincidence or homage? We're betting on the second one. And who knows? In some parallel universe, maybe Gru is Spider-Man in disguise, and the Minions are the wacky neighborhood uncles helping him out, just with bananas instead of webs. There's a hilarious scene in Minions 2 where the 3 yellow guys go through a magical transformation and turn into animals. So far, so normal for the Minions universe. But if you pay attention, you'll see that one of them turns into a chicken. And no, that was not a random script choice. It's actually a hidden Easter egg for hardcore Despicable Me fans. It's a clear reference. In the second Despicable Me movie, Gru has to fight a totally bonkers chicken during a mission. And we're not talking about your average barnyard bird. This chicken is basically Chuck Norris with feathers. Right after stealing that super valuable gem, Gru and the Minions do what they do best: run for their lives while everything around them explodes. Naturally, the Vicious Six aren't letting them off that easy, so the chase is on, and that's where another Easter egg sneaks in during the chaos. At one point, the villain with the metal arms straight up throws a van at Gru. But if you take a closer look, you'll notice the vehicle isn't just any old van from the 70s. The blue and green paint job with those funky details looks a lot like the iconic mystery machine from Scooby-Doo. Coincidence? Highly doubtful. It's like the filmmakers said, let's toss in some nostalgic cartoon vibes with a flying van and a wild chase scene. And now's the perfect moment. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go hit that subscribe button. That way, you'll never miss a single update. One of the funniest scenes in Minions: The Rise of Gru happens when Gru tries to open the vault, and something pretty unexpected goes down. He's dressed as a Boy Scout. Yup, the master of dark style and classic black suits takes a break from his goth vibe and throws on a totally out-of-character outfit. And if you think this was just a random costume choice, think again. That scout uniform, with its little hat, badges, and all those buttons, feels very familiar. It gives off strong Russell vibes. You know, the sweet little scout from Up. If you're a fan of animated films, you'll spot the resemblance right away. The whole scene is clearly a nod to Up, adding a funny twist by mixing the world of villains with the innocent world of scouting. Now all Gru needs is to learn how to tie knots and build a jungle treehouse. Once they reach the villain's lair, we get another classic reference, but only sharp-eyed fans would catch it. When Gru and the Minions are gathered at headquarters, if you've ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, then you know exactly what this is about. The scene is a total tribute to Willy Wonka, except instead of creating magical chocolate, Gru is building his own wild inventions. And the Minions? They totally fill the role of the Oompa Loompas, except instead of singing songs, they're more focused on knocking stuff over and causing the biggest mess possible. Just picture it. An army of minions whipping up war candy while Gru barks orders. Who would have thought the wild energy of Willy Wonka could get even more chaotic, fun, and banana-filled? Here's another fun reference that real fans shouldn't miss. When Gru enters the shop to carry out his plan, he doesn't use his classic freeze ray like we saw in Despicable Me. Nope. Gru's upgraded, folks. He's gotten more creative and apparently more flavorful. Instead of freezing people, he now uses something a bit more unusual: a cheese gun. Yep, The villain mastermind now prefers to leave his enemies sticky and smelling like cheddar. And let's be honest, there's nothing more evil than trapping someone in a mountain of cheese. That's the kind of villain move you never see coming. As if all the pop culture references weren't enough, Minions 2 throws in one more, and it's definitely a surprising one. In the scene where the minions are getting ready for bed, one of them shows up in a red robe. At first, it might just seem like a stylish bedtime look, but take a closer look and you'll see the inspiration is clear. It's based on none other than Hugh Hefner, the iconic founder of Playboy. Yup, this minion is strutting around in the classic red robe, Hefner style, rocking that chill pose and, let's say, just the right amount of party flair. It's like the minions decided to pay tribute to the king of the party in their own completely silly, cartoonish way. And to finish with a bang, we get a musical reference that might go unnoticed if you're not into pop music, but it's a real treat for anyone who follows the charts. The Minions, who already showed us they've got pretty eclectic tastes, reveal a bit more about their music preferences in a very unusual way. Apparently, they're big fans of Miley Cyrus. In the scene, the Minions use a giant disco ball to destroy the word lighting. And folks, that's a clear nod to Miley's iconic Wrecking Ball video. It's not just the disco ball, but the whole idea of smashing stuff with a giant object. It's basically the Minions' version of Wrecking Ball. Now just picture it. A room full of minions dancing to Wrecking Ball. If they weren't villains, they'd totally be the most hyped up backup dancers in pop. From classic films to pop culture icons, the creators had a blast hiding Easter eggs in every corner of the screen. Now that you know all about them, there's only one thing left to do. Watch it again and see how many of these hidden gems you can catch without blinking. And hey, if you love Bluey and animated shows, we've got 2 awesome videos coming up that you're going to love. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.